Today on Let Her Shoot, we're just doing an all women's national team conversation. We had multiple friendlies, so it's just a little mini episode, just a little amuse bouche for you. All soccer, the entire M.
I'm a hot girl. I get anything I want. This is my world. I make big moves in my big heels. Since the day that I was born, I've been a big deal.
Yeah, that was doing
Five.
five.
Okay,
Level up.
so we got
Level up.
level up. 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to Let Her Shoot. The only podcast that covers women's sports the way that we want them covered, which is no bullshit, no kid gloves, just respect for the athlete and the fans and the us and all the reasons to stay locked in. I am in a conference room, Sarah, because people, who do they think they are? They're just using the podcast room. It's basically mine, even though it's not mine. Sarah Chavnik is here, two-time Emmy Award-winning producer. Trista Craig, zero-time Emmy Award-winning quote-unquote talent. The quote-unquote is doing a lot of legwork here. Not
It's
talented
doing some
enough.
heavy lifting. The quotes
Doing
are
some
doing some
heavy
heavy
lifting.
lifting.
Ollie is headed for what kind of award would Ollie get if he was going to get one of the
I
EGOTs?
You know, he's getting Rookie of the Year.
No, an EGOT. Would he get?
Oh, he
Would he get an
got?
Emmy? Would he get an Emmy for
No, he's
his?
giving me Tony. He's giving me
He's
Tony
giving me
vibes.
Tony. I agree. He's a little sweet. We have a special U.S. national team episode for you, breaking down the last few friendlies. This friendly, Sarah was at, so we're going to talk a lot about that one, U.S. versus Canada in the DMV. It was hot as fish grease out. So Sarah, how you feeling?
Whew. Well, I'm happy that I didn't get so dehydrated that I didn't make it to this show because it was quite toasty out there. I'm unintentionally wearing this today, unironically. I didn't even mean to, but it was all USA. I mean, it was big uppercase letters USA at that game last night. I'll tell you what, I have never been in an environment like that for a women's sporting event in my entire life. There were almost 20,000 people there
Wow.
in Rowdy Audi, which if you've never been to a game in Audi, then you need to, because Audi is probably one of the best venues for a women's sporting event. It's the way it's so steep that like the sound just like reverberates. And it was so exciting. It was so exciting to be there. And I was a little nervous because like 5 minutes before kickoff, there was, it was like half the stadium was full. And I was like, ooh, this was a sellout crowd. I thought that there were going to be more people there. And then I looked up at one point because I heard the roar 17 minutes in. We get a Sam Coffey goal off of a corner kick. And the roar was like, I mean, it was like a college football game. It was just.
It was like Katy Perry. It was like Katy Perry.
Do people roar? Oh, like the song roar?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't.
No, we're not fucking with Katy Perry.
No, I mean, I am.
We're
She's
not
on the
fucking with
market
Katy
now,
Perry.
but,
Is
she's
what
on the
you're
market.
saying is she's definitely bi, by the way. Katy Perry,
Well,
I don't know if you ever saw her when she was on American Idol, but she was always flirting with the girlies. Katy Perry's for the
her
girlies.
debut song is I Kissed a Girl. So,
Yeah, but then you could
yeah.
easily say that she's one of those fake bi girls
This is
who
like
just
not a
really
hot
just to,
take.
yeah, literally just to try it though. She could be one of those
She could be.
fake girls that just I just wanted to make my boyfriend happy, so I tongued a girl down. She got
Not
popular off
even
that.
2 days out of Pride, and you're already coming for the bisexuals.
Somebody said why they really quickly before sorry side road that they shouldn't have traded Melissa during Pride.
It was homophobic.
Yeah, yeah.
It is. That's homophobic behavior, is to trade Melissa during Pride. Anyway, back to the soccer. So, a couple other observations that I've had is that there were so one thing that surprised me, actually, going back to Pride for a second, was it used to be, because I've been going to women's sporting events right now for, I don't know, a long time. I went to
That was a long pause.
it
You
was,
better
I mean,
cut
because
that
I'm trying
pause
to
down.
think, like, I've been going to NWSL games since the NWSL was birthed in the early 2010s. And I've been going to women's basketball events. I've gone to a lot of different women's sporting events. And typically what you would see in the past is that the majority of the fan base that is in the stadium is the LGBT community. Right? That is what it's always
We
been.
don't do Q. We don't do the Q anymore. We're not doing the Q.
LGBTQ plus.
Okay. Anyway, so it
Anyway,
usually was the gays,
it was
and
has always been
and
that's always been the fan base at these stadiums. I was surprised, and like it actually really made me smile, which is a weird. This is going to sound like a weird sentence, to see how many men were there,
yeah,
and how many men were with their daughters that were there, or that were just with their girlfriends or their wives or whatever, that were just like in their Rose Lavelle jersey and in their Lindsay Heaps jersey and with their face paint on. And I was like, you know what? This is really cool to see, because this isn't being treated like an exhibition. It's being treated like a real sporting event, like a
like a
real
World Cup game.
die-hard fans painting their faces, getting their jerseys, getting their beers, paying attention to the game. It wasn't just, oh, this is a fun thing for us to do. Like, this was real fans in a stadium watching a game, yelling at the refs for a card that they should have that they thought should have been given, or yelling for,
It should have been. I saw that. That was a bad tackle. That was really bad. That should have been a card.
I was
Even
sitting
me, the
next to
little
Sam,
novice, was
and
like, "Yo, that's out of pocket."
I gotta say, so Sam, for anyone who doesn't know, my fiance is a former soccer player who is from Canada. She's a Canadian. And so her roots are not with the US national team. They're with Canada. And so she was probably
No,
one
they
of
should
like,
be. She's about to immigrate
yeah,
here.
right.
She better
That's
fucking get
actually
on
part of
board.
the immigration test, is that you have to
Who do you
switch your allegiances.
name us some U.S. women's national team players and your favorite things about them. Until you can't do that for us, you're not getting in.
Name our starting roster, and if you can't do it, you're not allowed to come in. So she was sitting there, and every time there would be like a hard tackle. There was one really early on in the game, and I think it was, I'm trying to remember who it was. I think it was Haidema. And she just like body checks her out of bounds. And I looked over at Sam immediately, and she goes, "No, you didn't see that. You didn't see that. This is just how this game is going to go. This game is chippy." Canada and the US are chippy. They're a chippy game. I mean, you're always going to. I loved that, by the way, that Allstate sponsored it and called it the Continental Classico or whatever it was, like, which is funny because that's like Spanish, and
Yeah.
I
had a really quick side road again. I had a guy who replaced me when I left my radio show, and he's always using Spanish terms. And I'm like, "Is Brad Latino?" He's like, "Hola, amigos. Like, get your cervezas." And I'm like, why is Brad saying all this like
his
Spanish
name was
stuff? No,
Brad.
Brad. I'm like,
White guy
Brad,
named Brad.
what are you doing? Anyway, so it was chippy. They don't like each
So
other.
it's
The
chippy. They don't
Classico.
like, these teams don't like each other. I asked Sam, "Hey, why don't these teams like each other?" And her answer was just because they just don't.
Yeah, it's kind of like Romeo and Juliet and
Yeah.
their
Neighbors were
families.
neighbors, but like,
Yeah, that's the Montagues. What is it? The Montagues and the
yeah.
Capulets. And it's like, yo, these two families just don't fuck with each other. We don't even know where it starts, where it goes back. It's probably when we invaded them.
I think it's from when they
England.
abandoned us during the Revolutionary War and said, "No, we're going to stay with England." So
Well, that's what I mean. It's like it doesn't. I think it goes back to like English ties. Like
it's
this
like
is
way
like
back. Yeah, they're still
way back.
monarchy. Where they're still
Yeah.
monarchy and we don't. But you know what's funny is like they think we want to be them and we think they want to be us, and like the
Well, no,
truth is neither.
we know they want to be us.
I don't know that they want to right now.
Well, not right now, but like
Not right now. Historically, maybe.
there's no Love Island Canada, okay? And there never will be.
Imagine
Sorry,
that would
Sam,
go.
there never. What would it even be? Hello, eh? Could I wait for a chat, eh?
They're not British.
No, that's what they say, eh? You know, hey.
But you did an accent.
No, I mean I'm trying to distinguish it, eh? It's like Fargo.
Sorry.
Fargo.
Sorry, about.
Sorry
About
could I wait
that.
for a chat? So, yeah, exactly. Anyway,
Exactly.
they do want to be us. They want
They
to
do want
swagger
it.
back our stuff. They want our culture, our pop culture, our music, our fashion. They literally want,
It's thievery.
they don't want to be their own thing. We know
And
that.
we know that they're thieves because don't forget that they cheated at the Olympics, and that was why they have to have a new coach now. Who, by the way, I want to go back. I want to back up a little bit. So Canada,
Yeah, for sure.
So Canada and the U.S. have always had a tough back and forth rivalry. The last two Olympics have really added to this. You know, Canada won gold at the 2020, played in 2021 Olympics, and the U.S. won gold at the last Olympics. And if you don't really remember, because this was before the tournament started, but right before the Olympics started, Canada got busted flying a drone over New Zealand's practice. After that, they got penalized. They had to really work their way through the pool play in order to make it to the semifinals. They did, which was super impressive because no one really thought they could. They had to essentially go undefeated in pool play. And their coach ended up being fired. They ended up hiring a new coach more recently, Casey Stoney, who had been at the San Diego Wave. Her leaving the Wave was a little bit like no one really knew what was going on. It was a little bit, I don't really know what's happening here. So she gets fired, and then like a couple weeks later, Alex Morgan just suddenly retires, and there's a lot going on. So there was a lot of she's a good coach though. She's a good coach. She's kind of in that. She's from England, so she's a little bit in that Emma Hayes world of like her mindset, her mentality of coaching. And I think that she really is a great coach for Canada to bring their program back, get them out of kind of this stigma that they've had now with the whole cheating allegations and the having to get rid of their coaching staff. So I think Casey Stoney is a really good fit for them. She was not happy with this outcome yesterday. She was.
What would the outcome, Sarah? Put it in plain terms.
3-0. 3-0.
No, that's not plain terms.
It was
Plain terms is they got
it was an
their
ass
ass
whooping.
whooped. Yeah,
it was an ass whooping.
Belt to ass.
Belt to ass. And it was a good game. It didn't feel like it should have been a belt to ass. All of the U.S. goals came off of set pieces. There was a corner kick, there was a free kick, and there was a throw in. So all three of those, which historically is what Canada is really, really good at and what they did not capitalize off of. And I think that was what Casey Stoney was not so happy about, was that set pieces, scoring on set pieces, and also defending set pieces is what Canada is known for. And that was what their weakness was yesterday. I don't even know that they ran a set piece. Now that I'm thinking about it, I can't remember watching them kick a corner or a penalty kick at all yesterday. So now I'll give them the credit. There were a lot of opportunities for it to have gone even more out of hand than it did. It could have been 6-0 if a couple of these, their defense.
There was one
strong.
that hit the crossbar.
Yeah, their
there was
goalie,
one that hit the crossbar. Yeah,
Kaylin Sheridan is one of the top goal. Like, she's really, really good. But then they have some like questionable players that I think. There's been some frustration for Canadian fans on certain players that are getting into the lineup, and maybe
players.
They need to bring in some younger players as well in the way that the U.S. has been doing.
So they're washed. You're saying that these Canadian players are washed.
I'm not saying that they're washed. No, I'm not saying that they're washed.
What are the Canadians saying? Are the Canadians saying that they're washed?
I think that they're having.
Are they
issues.
long in the tooth?
No, they're having some. I think they're having some difficulty getting balls into the back of the net.
Lately. Well, that's kind of the main thing, isn't
they're really
that's
strong.
Like the crucial part.
It's just kind of, you look at like a pyramid of strength, right? Like their strength is defense, and then their midfield, and then their weakest spot is their offense.
Like our men's U.S. national team.
Correct. But
that's very frustrating. Yes. Yeah, like they're like the men's U.S. national team where it's like, yo, could we get a guy that could put the fucking ball in the net?
Correct.
I'm so
I think
tired
that's the
of Christian Pulisic being the only thing. So yeah, I can get what Canada's saying.
Some of these going and pulling younger players out of the NWSL, or now they have the Northern Super League that they can come and pull younger players out of and start developing them. The U.S. has really kind of found this in putting younger talent on the field. I think we've been seeing that. We saw Claire Hutton, Izzy Rodriguez, both were first-time scorers. Avery Patterson Sam Coffey scored twice in these 3 games. Alyssa Thompson has been, every time she got the ball last night, it was like, she's gonna
Do something.
she's gonna score. She's gonna like
do something.
it was like you could feel the energy in the air when Alyssa touched the ball. It was like everyone just like moved forward on their chair, because it's like, oh, here it comes. It's coming.
She looks
It's coming.
far. I mean,
It's coming.
I think what I saw was that it looked like the time of possession, and I didn't see what this actually was, but it just looked like Canada couldn't get their foot on a ball for more than 5 to 10 seconds before the U.S. took possession back, and it felt like almost like international Spanish type of National League play where we were just on the attack until maybe like the 80th minute, 84th minute or something. Like, but we were just down their
But
throats.
that's how we play them. That's how we
Yeah,
play them. We don't give
and
them a lot of space.
I like that. That's the kind of soccer, that's the kind of football that I want our country to be putting in place. And I think also, to your point, so many young players that were shining where I'm not even aware of who some of them are. And I'm like, oh, well, we can't get rid of her. She's sick. Or, oh, I can't get rid of her.
She's
She's
too
sick.
good. Yeah.
She's way too good. And we have multiple players who are staples of the U.S. women's national team that didn't play. And my question for you is, are they kind of getting edged out when we have like a final roster decision?
It's hard because Lindsay
You're not gonna get.
Heaps.
You're not gonna leave out Trinity. I'm not saying that.
No, but I do think that, and this was sort of a comment I made earlier on, like a couple months ago, was Mal and Sophia are both out for maternity. They're both, we don't know when they're coming back, right? We'd have no idea. We haven't seen Mal play or Sophia play in several months. We have not seen them with the team. We've not seen them with their club teams. We don't know what they're coming back with. They are still so young. Like, they're still so young. They're still in their mid-20s. I think a lot of people forget that Mal is that young because she started on the team, like, at the age of 16. So we've been watching her for 10 years. So I think people forget that Mal is still only 27 because we've been watching her for so many years. Trinity has had more of a newer introduction, but she's still early 20s. Same with Sophia. So I will say, though, that my hot take is that I don't know, and I would venture to say I do not believe that we will ever see the Triple Espresso play together on a national team again. Maybe they'll all be on a roster at one point, but I don't necessarily know that I ever see that starting 3 be the staple of the team. So we're saying goodbye to the Triple Espresso, but we are saying hello to the Babychino. The
This is a great
Babychino,
name.
who is
The baby
Alyssa
cappuccino.
Thompson, Giselle Thompson, and Croy Bethune, which they are the future. They are the future of this team. I also think there are players like Lindsay Heaps who are getting older and are, yes, she is a foundational backbone of this team and the structure of this team in the locker room. But I think one of the big problems with Vlatko, the coach before Emma, was his reluctance to start moving around players who had maybe kind of gone past their prime and continue to play players because of their pedigree. And that was a big criticism of the last World Cup was, does Megan Rapinoe need to be on the field? Because there were a lot of people who believed that there was younger, fresher legs that could have been on the field taking those penalty kicks that wouldn't have knocked us out. And I think that but then there's the other side of it of like, do you want the pedigree because act like you've been there before? Experience is key. And so having a player like a Rapinoe back at that World Cup, or having a Heaps going forward, or a Trinity, or a Sophia, or a Mal, who have that ability to teach these kids how it is that you perform on the stage, because it is a huge stage. There's 20,000 people at your games. This is not, it's the big leagues. It's as big as you get. So I think there's a delicate balance, and I think Emma Hayes is really figuring that out. And I think where a lot of us have scratched our heads being like, wow, she is playing a completely different starting lineup tonight than she did the night before, which was different than the night before that. Like,
and
it's different every time.
What's crazy is she's like, how stacked are you when you have a totally different starting group every 4 days? Like, you're literally like, I don't want so and so to play. I don't want Rose Lavelle to play except for every 4 days. It's like, oh wow, we must be really deep to have confidence doing that, especially against a team like Canada, where the rivalry is really huge, and losing on home soil in Washington D.C. would have been, if it would have been
On 4th of July weekend.
On 4th of July weekend, God forbid we lose that match 3-0.
Yeah, you can't. You can't lose that match. One of my favorite moments of the entire night was in about like the 85th minute, the crowd starts chanting, "We want Tara. We want Tara." Who is Tara McKeown, and she is a Washington Spirit player, so, you know, half the crowd was there as Spirit fans. And she gets subbed on. She plays the last few minutes. She comes into a standing ovation, and she had got an assist at the 89th minute, which was, it's just a really cool moment to see for women's sports, like chanting that they want a player on the field. And it was her birthday too, so shout out to her. Happy birthday. What a great birthday present. Playing on her home field on her birthday for her national team on 4th of July weekend. I feel like there's probably not any experience that gets much better than that.
That's cutting onions right there. That's cutting onions.
Yeah.
That's like, gives you chills. Lynn, do I pronounce it Biandolo? Biandolo. She's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, she's like, you know, again, because I'm just coming in here with fresh eyes. You're like, oh, who is that? Oh yeah, she's really good. It's like when I first experienced Marta for the first time. I'm like, oh yeah, she's the one. She's the one. You don't need to really know a lot to know she's the one. That's how I felt about watching Biandolo.
Yeah, she's fun. I saw, there's like, a lot of people think that like when she gets her leg wrap on, that like that's, when she gets the Asia leg wrap on, you know, that's like, we're getting into it now. And so someone was like, oh no, here we go. Leg wrap Lynn is out there. She's a blast to watch. She was one that like, for a long time under Vlatko was not getting the looks that she should have been getting. And that was one of the things that I think Emma Hayes has done is bring her in and get her involved in the rotation, because she is one of those players that is so electric when she's so fast. So I think Lynn is one of those players that, you know, she's gotten moved around a little bit in the NWSL teams. You know, I think finding her place, she's really come into herself a little bit later in her career, whereas you see some of these other ones that were peaking in high school, like Alyssa Thompson. So, or not peaking. We don't have no idea where Alyssa Thompson's peak is. I mean, we could still be
She's scary.
We could still be at the base of her talent. We don't even know yet. All I know is, my God, she is fun to watch.
Yeah, she's obviously one of those players where what is she, like 19? She's scary to watch her.
She's scary.
You're like, what could you be? You could be everything for us. And you're right. You look at like what this team could be, and like what Emma Hayes has done. Like, this is one of the most masterful performances, because honestly, we were starting to just roll out the same old. Like, I was so tired of seeing Alex Morgan, Rapinoe, you know, and this is fresh, this is fun, this is young, this is Gen Z. They're doing TikTok dances. You got like sisters on the team. You got first U.S. Women's National Team appearances. You know who we got a little action to see is, ooh, she bad. Naomi Girma. We got to see her. She's out there.
The Secretary of Defense.
The Secretary of Defense, a.k.a. someone that Sarah never brings up because she knows it's going to come out with, ooh, she bad.
Ooh, she bad. She'll be captain. You know, she'll be the veteran that is leading that back line for the next decade. You know, there's no doubt about that. I don't think that this is Naomi's team. to lead going forward. Like, I truly believe that. And she had the captain's armband last night. Lynn had it the week before. And this is what I mean. Like, we're starting to see a little bit more responsibility dished out to these younger players. We're starting to see Lindsay Heaps wasn't even on the roster for these friendlies. There were a lot of players that weren't on the roster. You know, you had a couple older veterans. Emily Sonnet was playing. But there was no Crystal Dunn. There was no Lindsay Heaps. There was obviously no Trinity Sophia Mal. But you have these other players, these younger players, Sam Coffey, Naomi Girma, that are really coming in. They're putting the captain's armband on, Lynn Biondolo, who are putting the captain's armband on, and they are leading this team to 4-0, 4-0, 3-0 finishes against good teams with good players.
Yeah, no, I'm all about it. I'm all about Babychino. I'm all about this new line that we have. I'm all about the youth movement. We have to keep Trinity. We have to keep Trinity. She's a star. She's got to stay. She's like 23 years old. You can't, and she's
Trinity
like
will
this
be
with
back.
Emma.
The thing is that Trinity's coming back from a soccer injury. She's still playing through it. They're coming back from maternity leave. There's been other players that have left. Sid LaRue, very notably, was a young player who had, kind of nobody really ever saw her not being a part of the national team roster. And then she went and she had a kid, and then she didn't come back and play again on the national team. She won a World Cup, and then we didn't see her again. You also have other players like Crystal Dunn who have come back from maternity and who have made it back onto the team. So, I think there's no really anecdotal evidence to say it's going to go one way or the other. It all just depends on how they come back and how they rehab. But I think it's more so that in that time that they're gone, there are players that are coming in and are earning those spots. And I don't think it's as a matter of them losing their spots. I think it's a matter of you have these younger, more versatile players coming in and earning them.
Tough decisions for Emma Hayes. Very, very tough.
I mean, yeah, what a hard world that she has to pick between all this talent.
I know. And what hard work do we have to deal with one another? All this talent, Sarah Chavnik. I think that's about sums it up for our U.S. women's national team.
I think it does.
Doesn't it? Hey,
I think it
Sarah,
does. Yeah.
By the way, did you pass out stickers and our flyers?
I did.
To the cashoonity? How'd they react to it?
I think I scared a few people. Probably.
Why?
Like lurking in the shadows, just like
because your headband.
No, I took that off. I didn't wear it.
Okay.
It was too gay. It was too gay looking. Yeah, I think I just got a little bit like, ooh, we're not going to Rambo into this.
Yeah.
Think maybe I'm proud to be an American soccer fan.
Yeah.
But walking around DC with that much red, white, and blue on these days sends the wrong message. So
yeah, you didn't want to get invited to an NRA meeting or to January 6th. Anyway,
I don't.
We want you to. We want to.
Didn't want to get invited to the Capitol.
Yeah, we want to encourage everybody in the cashoonity to follow us and subscribe to our pod and our YouTube. This is what helps our cashoonity grow. That's what we all want. We want more episodes. We want more interviews with athletes. We want to do stuff live on the ground from some of these events. And in order to do all of that and give you more content, we rely on you. So definitely doing that. And thank you so much, and we'll see you again next week.
I'm a hot girl. I get anything I want. This is my world. I make big moves in my big heels. Since the day that I was born, I've been a big deal.